Hey everyone, this is Jacqui Cooper with J. Cooper Travels, and I am here today with a really important topic that I think everyone, whether you're a millennial or older, needs to be thinking about. And before I get into that topic and what it is, I'm going to just share more information for those that might not know what J. Cooper Travels talk show is about. I want to first welcome you. I started the talk show last year during our time of COVID, and I am a certified travel consultant, but I'm also an entrepreneur in many areas. And I started it so that way we could talk about where we want to go around the world traveling. But because of COVID and because of my connections on LinkedIn and other platforms, I realized I was meeting and connecting with so many interesting people that their stories need to be heard and shared. So that way everyone could be inspired by what they're doing, as well as learning more about the services and products that that they had access to, because it might be something that you might need to enjoy. And so J. Cooper Travels now focuses both on how do we travel in life, both personally, financially, wellness wise, professionally, all and around the world. And so with that being said, the person who I'm speaking with today, we've done a number of talk shows because we are both interested in many different things in life, both from where we live to where we go and travel wise, as well as professionally. And I met Cal on Alignable, which is a wonderful platform for networking and to learn more about other products and services. And I'm going to let him introduce himself and the business that we're going to be talking about today, because we're going to be talking about planning that a lot of people kind of leave and don't think about until it's necessary. So, Cal, with that being shared, how are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic, Jackie. Hi, thanks for having me on your show today. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, so why don't you go ahead and share with everyone your full name, the name of the business. For those that might not be familiar with how podcasts or talk shows work, there is a block below. You'll be able to see his links. You'll be able to connect in and find him. We are going to be mentioning these links at least 3 times during the show, so you don't have to worry about rushing around to get a pen and paper. Definitely sit back, enjoy the conversation, because it's all about trying to provide you value so you can enjoy the quality of your own life. So Cal, what's the name of your business?
So it's Wealth Income Solutions LLC, and we use the acronym WISE, which stands for Wealth Income Solutions for Entrepreneurs.
Wow. And how would someone find you?
They can check us out on our website at wealthincomesolutions.com.
So I love that title, WISE, Wealth Income Solutions. That fits everyone. We all want wealth. We all want income and solutions. And I like the letter E for entrepreneurs, even though I know that your services can probably help everyone. But why are you focusing on entrepreneurs, and what type of entrepreneurs are your clients?
Typically they're business owners or people who kind of roll with their own flow, so to speak. And so basically what's happened is, we're walking into a post-pandemic world right now, and there's been many factors that have propped up the stock market to the highest point of all time. We're taking the standpoint that the economy today, when you're re-entering and trying to get back to pre-pandemic standards, isn't really reflective of where the market is at the highest point it's ever been. And there's a couple of reasons for that. Again, it's post-COVID, so we're trying to integrate ourselves back. And there's also been trillions of dollars of federal stimulus that started back in the Great Recession in 2008. And I'll be told it's been about close to $8 trillion that they pumped into the market, with the majority of that being into the commodity and the bond market. So we're of the opinion that the market's kind of overinflated by about 35%, give or take. And no one really knows when the volatility is going to come, because once you quote buy yourself kind of out of a problem or use money to stabilize the market like we did in the Great Recession, the rules kind of work inversely, right? So you see weird trends. Real quick, I just did a podcast about inflation being at 5%, yet the mortgage rates are in near all-time low, and so is the 10-year Treasury bond. So with that being said, it's kind of like that doesn't really tend to happen. It tends to be when inflation happens, rates are higher because there's more spending, there's more activity in the market. So the $1 million question is, when does everything stabilize? When do we integrate? When do all the lines of communication come back open, so to speak? And in the meantime, how do you protect your long-term interests? So I speak to professionals that have long-term goals, whether they're wanting to retire or they're wanting to, build another business, or they're wanting to protect a retirement fund like a 401k or a 403b, or maybe a TSA if they're a federal employee. And we show how to take that volatility head on and be able to accommodate your long-term goals, because most financial planners today, because of the looming volatility that could be coming around the corner, are only focusing on short-term goals. So we want to redirect that focus to a long-term, so no one takes a step backwards on their timeline.
I agree with you. And we had talked offline that really the topic of the day is all about estate planning. And it's not just estate planning from the perspective of, when you pass. It's also about how do you plan your current estate, so the generational wealth that you were talking about and other things that we think about. But I know that when I was younger, I didn't think about what would happen when I was in my 50s, 60s, or 70s. So this is something that the conversation needs to be opened up early. And like you said, especially now with the way the economy is, you need to have a diverse portfolio of advisors who can help you understand the various products or services, or on the market, as well as those that can help you just think strategically. So how did you get into this?
You know what? I started working in the mortgage industry prior to the collapse of Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. And so I started working with a lot of attorneys who were doing title insurance, and I developed those relationships. And when the walls came down, they're like, hey, we enjoyed working with you. Would you help us with helping our clients with estate planning moving forward? So I started learning about what it means to die intestate if you don't have a will, or what the difference between, having a public account of a will that has to be settled through probate, or dying and dispersing your assets through a private means, which is like a revocable living trust. And I started working with people and how to integrate that into their solutions to kind of, or into their financing or their investing, if you will, to kind of put that umbrella over everything to protect their generational needs, because we really don't know, when it's our time. We just want to make sure that we have the right plan in place to protect our loved ones if something like that does happen.
I love the visual that you just shared about the umbrella, because again, you want to have that protection. And just like an umbrella has many spokes, when you look at your plan, it needs to be diversified, and you need to be looking at a lot of different areas. So having someone like yourself, be able to kind of give the information, I think is really important. I know, even though I certify myself as a travel agent because I love to travel, my original career path is as a lawyer. And right now I'm getting involved in the legal side differently, because I know people are I'm meeting clients all around the world, all around the country. So I became associated with Legal Shield because I personally, as a lawyer, am only licensed in one state. But the individuals that I've been meeting for business and that type of thing, they don't have wills. They weren't thinking about estate planning like you've been talking about. And I realized I needed to be able to connect with them and offer them an affordable solution So that way for themselves personally, or, for their business, that was just one member of their team. But Legal Shield helps with, some of the basics, wills, estate planning, things like that, but they don't help in the areas that you can help with. Because I know you're involved with a lot of other things. So when someone comes to you as a client, what do you do? Do you do an informal interview, or how do you figure out what their needs are?
That's a great question. So, one of the, what we're talking about now is the anxiety of everything, right? So
Yeah.
what'll happen is if someone comes to a financial planner, the whole last thing they want to do is, be shown a presentation when the time may not be right. So what I do is I try to have an initial conversation with the client, let them know that we're not going to make any financial decisions at all. I just want to hear what their goals are and then divulge what my practice and approach is. And then we'll determine afterwards if we're a fit for one another. There may be something along my practice that doesn't work for them, or something that I hear that I may not be able to provide. That way we don't waste any time, and that both parties agree that, yeah, it makes sense to take the next step in looking at stuff. And then we can start the process about gathering information to make the right recommendation. But without that initial buffer of seeing if we're a fit for one another, then you're kind of going in circles, so to speak. You're not starting and finishing. You're kind of at a standstill, because there are, it does have to be a fit. And I realize that I may not be a fit for everyone I do business with, but we'll figure that out on the first appointment, just by being upfront and honest about what our obligations are, and what we want to get out of this opportunity moving forward, right?
So when you have a client, the other thing that it occurred to me as you were talking is we also don't think about tax savings for doing this type of planning. And I think that's also, there are so many changes coming up with the new tax code. Well, not new, but I mean, there's so many things that are about to be rolled out in the next few years that, individuals might not be aware of, that it is important to be looking at what is the current tax code, how does this planning help? Because it's all about leverage, and how do you keep what you're earning, so that way you can then allocate it for what you need. So are you able to help people with that area as well?
Absolutely. There's a lot of investments like IRAs or 401ks that are tax deferred, and the IRS really doesn't want you taking that money out prior to 59 and a half. So, but there are also ways to reallocate that. Maybe you want to convert that to a Roth IRA, or there's other means to which you can convert that to what's called a non-qualified fund, or post-tax dollars. And what I always try to ask the people I'm speaking with is, do you want to pay tax on the seeds, or do you want to pay tax on the harvest, right? So, right now our tax rate is still relatively low compared to U.S. history, where the average tax rate, I believe, is right like 55 or 60% if you look all the way back to the early 1900s. So, I mean, there are some advantages depending on what your long-term goals are. And if you're trying to eliminate as many taxes right now by getting your income down lower and taking some of that as pre-tax distribution versus, taking that as income down the road. So it's kind of it kind of depends on what the goals are, when they need the disbursements, and what they're trying to accomplish.
So how would someone contact you? Again, why don't you share that information, so for those that are listening, they have the ability to reach out to you?
Yeah, I would encourage anyone that is interested in looking to protect their long-term interest to check out wealthincomesolutions.com. There'll be more about what we deal with our specialized index investments. And if they like what they see, then they can always fill out a submission form. And then we can contact them right away and set up the first meeting and determine if we can be a fit for one another. And then from there, once we determine, or once they understand what my practice approach is, and then I understand what their needs are, then we can take the next step. But until you figure all that out, again, you're kind of going in circles. So that would be the best way, just through the website, and then filling out the submission form, and then we can take the next step from there.
Yeah, and I would encourage everyone to think about this only because, again, just like this is July right now, even though you might be listening to this talk show later in the year, because again, the shows kind of live on forever. But this is already halfway through the year, and I know I was talking to a tax advisor that is on many of my shows, and we were both, commenting that a lot of times people wait till December to plan for their taxes for the next year. So, wherever you are in your life, take that step now because it's not too late, because again, whether you, have a plan, whether you need to update your will, whatever the questions might be, take that moment now to check out, WISE, to check out the Legal Shield side of my, side, only because if you wait till it's too late, it's too late. So, take a few minutes just to, I know I'm a procrastinator, but there's certain things that I think that everyone needs to kind of just step up a little bit because it will help your family and it also will help you. Any last minute thoughts that you have, Cal, on what you would like our listeners to take away? I know this is kind of maybe not a sexy topic, but it's really important.
No, it is. It's very important. And, it's like the old saying goes, those who fail to plan, fail to plan, right? So with that being said, I mean, everyone's situation is different. And I would encourage anyone to learn more about how to properly structure their estate, because if they die intestate, then most of the time, as you're well aware, the state will end up getting all the assets because there is no direction on who's to inherit that moving forward. Now, depending on what your situation is, will depend on what kind of a recommendation, and where Legal Shield can be a huge tool. If there's consultants like yourself that can represent them, I think that's very important, as opposed to going in blind and trying to read the legal jargon and making sense of it all. So I think that having the right plan in force or in place to figure out what your goals are needs to start by, discussing what your needs really are, surfacing all that, and then taking the next step to implement all that. So I think it's one of those things that we don't really realize how much we need it until it actually happens.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. It's procrastination. Well, someone thinking, well, I'm really young now, I don't have anything to really worry about. But hey, car accidents happen all the time, right?
They happen
we
all the
really we
time.
really don't know what's happening around the corner. Granted, it's improbable, but it could happen. So just making sure that your loved ones are protected to that next level, and giving yourself peace of mind to protect your interest in life and, of course, onto your generation. I would highly encourage people to reach out and see what they can do to help themselves.
Yeah, and one last thing before we go. Again, the contact information for Cal and the Wealth, WISE group will definitely be in the block below, as well as my contact information. The other thing that popped into my mind as you were talking, and this is only because I'm also involved with cryptocurrency, there have been individuals that I've talked to who, without even thinking about it, they don't think of their crypto as part of their assets, part of their estate. But in fact, it is. And so, if you are involved in cryptocurrency in any form, reach out to me, because I have an organizer that can help you on that. But I created that because a friend of mine was saying that he had Bitcoin and he wanted to gift it to his granddaughter. And when I asked him, well, do you have a will? He said no. So again, when you're not involved with traditional banking, you have to think, well, how do I share that information with my family so they can access the wealth that I'm creating from alternative platforms? So again, that is becoming more mainstream, and I just wanted to put that out there in case people needed to be thinking about that. But definitely reach out to Cal, use his services to see if he can help you with planning, because I think that, again, it doesn't matter where you are in your life, planning is really important. It's like having a good doctor on your team. It's really important that you have attorneys, accountants, financial planners, advisors. They're all on your team to help you succeed. So, any last minute thoughts, Cal, before we sign off?
No, I agreed 100%. You know, you want to surround yourself with the right people to get the right results. So yes, I encourage them to reach out, and if there's a way we can help them, then yeah, we'll definitely point in the right direction. Absolutely.
Have a great day. And I know we'll be talking as things change. You're going to keep me updated and we'll do follow-up talk shows. So definitely everyone like and subscribe so that way you can keep up to date and see what news Cal shares with us next. Thank you so much.